It's a cold day here in Nebraska, and we got some hot news. Do you see what I did there? Yeah, that was clever. We're going to get to that right now. Hey, it's Temestral, Pickup Truck Plus SUV Talk, and my passion is trucks and SUVs. That's your passion too. Hit subscribe, click the bell, and smash the like button. We're talking trucks, we're talking truck news. This is something I called a couple years ago that I kind of thought was going to happen, and we have confirmation today it's going to happen. My friend Mike Wayland at CNBC just ran the story, and it's official. Toyota will move Tacoma production out of San Antonio. It's going to move their production south of the border. They have had Tacomas built there in Baja, Mexico for a couple years now, but there's a new plant in Central America they're going to build Tacomas down in. And so this is going to free up that San Antonio plant to include the Sequoia. Yeah, the Sequoia is going to come down from Indiana. That makes the Sienna and Highlander going to be built in Indiana. There'll be a $1.3 billion investment to increase some plant capacity there and improve that plant. Then they'll bring the Sequoia down to San Antonio and they'll build it there alongside the Toyota Tundra. But what's this all mean? Does this mean that the Mexican-built Tacoma is going to be inferior build quality that the U.S. was? Is there going to be layoffs? Is it going to be what's going on? So let's start breaking this down. Number one, Toyota builds products all across the globe, and so build quality is probably not going to change. I mean, they have their standards, and every plant they build to is at those standards. So if you see somebody mouthing off on Facebook, which, well, let's be frank, probably will be somebody doing that, and in the comments as well, it's not the case. They've built stuff globally for a long time. Now, the other part of the equation is going to be what's going to happen in San Antonio. This is big news. So San Antonio is working a flex schedule for a long time. They've been putting extra hours. They've been over capacity for years. And so I think what's going to happen is you're going to see San Antonio roll back a little bit and not have their employees work so many hours. But there's going to also be some changes coming up. So let's do the math here. I grabbed my handy-danny calculator and wrote down some numbers here. So last year, Toyota sold 250,000 Tacomas, basically is what it works out to be, and 111,000 Tundras. Again, numbers written down. Hold on. So if you're staying with me still, if you have 248,000 Tacomas, or 250,000 Tacomas, and the Baja facility builds about 60,000, 60 from 250, you have about 190,000 units that are built in San Antonio. So you have 190,000 units built in San Antonio, and you've got 100,000 units, 111,000 units built in as far as Tundras. So that plant builds about 300,000, and again, those sales are going to be weird because some are going to be last year models that were on dealer lots in 2019. So let's just say they build about 300,000 units annually, and that's with working overtime. So let's say they reduce overtime a little bit, and they go ahead and build 250,000. Let's say 250,000 units in San Antonio. That's a good year for them. Well, if you're only selling 111,000 Tundras, that leaves 140,000 left capacity, and you sold 10,000 Sequoias last year. I don't know about you guys, but that math doesn't equal anything. Like that's a drop in the bucket. So basically, San Antonio is going to be tasked to build two vehicles that can't even match half the capacity that it's building today. Now, Toyota says officially no job losses. I tend to believe them. Last time they had a recession, they still had San Antonio employees working. They just happened to be doing projects around the community. They did cleaned up yards. They cleaned up fields. They cleaned up parks. They did different stuff. So that's one aspect of it. The other aspect of it is, and I believe, is Toyota might actually launch a true truck offensive in the United States. Now, I'm going to give you some backstory here and why I think this is kind of what's going to happen. Is the last couple of years, as of summer of last year, Chief Engineer Mike Swears has been over in Japan. He's been pleading the case for more American-built Tundras and Tacomas. This guy's a truck guy through and through. He wants to build more trucks in the United States. And Toyota globally, if you didn't know this, they're the world's largest automaker. They build a ton of Hiluxes here worldwide. Sorry, a little bit of frog in my throat today. So if you're looking at this thinking, well, that's a ton of capacity left over that they could just and soak up with Tundras and Sequoias, right? Dealers been asking for that. The full-size SUV market is kind of growing. We have new Yukon, new Tahoe, new Suburban. And so if you do that math and fuel prices stay low for that segment, and then you think to yourself, gosh, Tundra's got a lot of upside, right? Because it's really old. It's going to needs new technology. If they did a diesel, Fans will freak out. They could do some heavy duty, not 1 ton, and I don't think 3/4 ton, but they could do something like a heavy duty half, like Nissan attempted to do, or they could do a kind of wannabe 3/4 ton, or they could go ahead and go all the way backwards and build the old compact truck. They could do that as well, but I don't think so. So I think what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to expand sales of the Tundra and Sequoia with new models, new powertrains, and new offerings to increase the production in San Antonio and keep that plant humming. Because if you have the workers there and the plant's humming along anyways, you want to keep that going. And that's all going to happen by the way, late 2021. That Tacoma will be sent to Mexico. That means by the early spring of 2022, they're going to have to find some way to build new trucks in that segment, fill that plant. Yeah, I'm making no sense today. You have to find ways to put more trucks on the assembly line, dealers and sold. Dealers have always said they're about 25% less. They get 25% less trucks than they actually want, so there's a demand there. So you have increased demand. You're gonna have some new products, and you're gonna have new Sequoia coming out soon as well. There has been some reports saying that the Tundra has been delayed till late of this year, so it'll be fall of 2020. That means it comes out of 2021 model, maybe, or they launch it in Chicago, like I think they will in a couple weeks. It comes out in the fall as a 2021 model, and then they start building up demand for it, and then following year, the Tacoma just finally ends production. They can start shipping production out of the plant as soon as the next plant comes in line. So you're talking late 2021. Well, that could be the last truck off the market. They could bring the new truck in and start soaking up some of that demand as well in the production. And so I think you're going to see that. I think you're going to see a new Tundra this year. I'd like to say Chicago, but they may have to hold back depending on production cycles and schedules. And I'd like to see a new Sequoia. And I think the new Sequoia is going to come out at the same time the new Tundra is going to come out. And I think you're going to see shared powertrains. You're going to see shared frames. You're going to see shared parts. Right now, the Sequoia is basically a 2007 Tundra. And so you'll see they're going to share more parts. The reason they're putting the Tacoma down in Mexico as well, they're going to start sharing some parts down there with the Hilux, I think. I think the next generation Hilux, next generation Tacoma are going to start getting closer and closer. And I could see the Tacoma or the Hilux going away and becoming the same truck. Because why build two different trucks globally? That customer demand is changing anyways, and their needs are changing. Yeah. I just find it all foolish. So I'm going to link the other video right over here that I talked about the Tundra explosion, the Toyota truck explosion. And I'll do another video over here. And that'll be the million mile Tundra I did a couple years ago. It's always fun to watch those million mile stories. Always get a big kick out of them. But that's the big news on a very cold day here in Nebraska.